Okay, welcome everybody to our brown bag for this month. We are delighted to have Dr. Parra and Dr. Acosta here to talk to us about modern and classical languages and issues of diversity and inclusion. And since there are two of you, I want to give you plenty of time, so I'm just going to turn it over to you and I will mute myself.
Good morning. Well, actually, good afternoon. I'm going to share my screen. Oh, supposed to be ready. This is what we have every time in our classrooms. The experience of technology. Now my PowerPoint has disappeared. Wait a minute. I have to go to my main screen. And thanks to these experiences of challenging technology, you know, I'm also always inspired to work on technology. So, well, I'm here. Can you see the PowerPoint now?
We can see it. Yes.
Wonderful. So I'm going to introduce myself first. Well, this is the Undergraduate Research Council for Brown Bag Series. Thank you very much for being here. So the topic is diversity, inclusion, and research in our department, languages. I am Dr. Erika Parra. So actually, language teaching and learning is my research, and I wrote this in Spanish. So now you can see how much Spanish you understand. First of all, I want to say that I love to teach languages and cultures and literatures from Latin America. And as you see, I wrote literatures in plural because we are many, many literatures, many countries, many different experiences. So my experience in teaching languages started in Tasco, this beautiful city in the mountains of Mexico, part of the state of Guerrero. And here I found my passion for learning and teaching languages. Basically, my philosophy, my teaching philosophy is also based on teaching and learning and how we can shape a global citizenship. And it happened in this place because every year we had many, many people from different countries who came to Mexico to continue a PhD degree. And I was part of the Spanish program. And also we have tourists that come to the city. It's a silver city. They produce silver. So it's amazing. So then how does diversity...
I'm sorry to interrupt. We're still seeing, I think, your first slide. I don't know if you changed it.
Yes, I changed it. It's not changing?
No, we are seeing the first one, or at least I'm still seeing the first one.
Still watching. Oh, let me see then from here. Probably if I go by here. Nothing is happening.
No, Erika.
Let me try again.
Maybe if you can share the entire screen, now it changes. Perfect.
Can you see this one?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, so how the topics of diversity and inclusion are connected with my themes of research? Well, basically because I took this concept of diversity from a human rights person, Stephen Glassman. He is the first gay that participates in Pennsylvania and is trying to promote diversity in all the fields. And basically, diversity is when we really understand the value of different experiences. And the goal is to achieve the kind of change needed to make this world a place that is going to promote equality and social justice for everyone. So this connects to my research because, as you can see, it's focused on teaching and learning languages approaches application of transformative pedagogies for an inclusive classroom. I have a lot of challenges in my classrooms. One of these is technologies. However, I keep moving forward. And happiness as a purpose of the value creating pedagogy, well, if we are happy, I think we are able to appreciate other cultures, right? And that connects to my literature field by focusing on how the readings I'm teaching in my classrooms are going to reconfigure representations in Latin America toward a global citizenship. And I'm writing now a kind of historical novel inspired on my grandmother, who was the first teacher in our village. So also, I try to work with the students, because how can I include students' experiences in my own research? So collaboration comes from different perspectives when working with the students. And one opportunity I had was the Blazer Summers Research Institute in 2021, when I had the great opportunity to work with the students Zoe Barrett, but also with different faculty who were mentoring me in different ways. And could be technology, could be just emotional support, and could be also learning how to write a grant. So the topic that really makes me uncomfortable is being called minority. When we are talking about diversity and inclusion, then, why do you keep calling me minority, right? That is my personal topic. So, but in a way, as a part of transformative pedagogies, I have to learn more about minorities from another perspective. So I do research, and I participated guiding the students' research and learning from her as well. So if you are interested, you can really reach your favorite faculty, or the topic that you are learning can, be shared. And you will realize that some faculty is already writing about the topic you are passionate about. So you can visit this link. You can take a picture if you are interested. In most of the grants, we need a proposal. So these are some steps, right? And everything has to be very clear and concise. It is interesting that doing research takes many years. This is just an example of, it was one semester that took us to write the proposal, and then one semester to know that we were awarded. So another semester to do the research and present the first steps from both sides. On the right side, where it says not hidden figures, it was led by faculty, and the second one was where students participated. So also the research will continue because it will take your summer. And the good thing is that the students can receive a stipend, which is great, right? Who's gonna pay you for reading? I love this. We learned that when we are working with people, we need to have the IRB, which is an institutional review board. And then we need to learn about technologies, and we need to discuss, and we need to analyze and design, and attend workshops where the mentor and the student get together, right? Everybody submits reports. We learn more about the administrative work that is behind the scenes. And I really hate administrative work, but it was fun when we are working together. So next is to continue. Zoe is going to continue trying to publish. She submitted her paper and was rejected. But in these pedagogies, transformative pedagogies, obstacles are opportunities. So then we need to keep writing and revising until she gets published, right? Because that's the goal. And also her project is something that could be applied in society. So I'm really, really, really hoping that she can bring this project to real life. And again, when we transform obstacles, it's not only about knowledge, it also can be technical things, or self-esteem, mental health. In our way, we learn resources on how to plan. As you can see, everything is connected, students and faculty, student mentee and faculty mentee. We also read some extra research where mentoring and tutoring are partners in learning, right? So we are learning from each other and we have expectations. As you can see, there are different diverse research styles. So sometimes we faculty tend to ask our students to do projects, and we forget that we are all different and then we have different learning styles. So these are simple examples that can help me to reflect on every single student. So we constantly are talking about goals, obstacles, and strategies to overcome, because research sometimes can be very, very frustrating. So, well, if you are interested in learning more about this program at the VIA Blazer Summers Research Institute, I will be happy to share information with you so you don't have to start from zero. So thanks to my mentees, I didn't start from zero. So thank you very, very much. Okay, take it away. Can they hear me?
We can still hear you. Lavana, do you want me to just start mine to go ahead, or?
Yes, if you'd like to go, you can jump right in. Wait a minute, we're having trouble hearing you now.
Hello. I
Okay, we can
muted.
hear you.
Okay, let me go through the same screen sharing situation
Okay.
as Parra just did. Can you see my yarn? Yes. Okay, great.
Yes, we can.
I,
Oh,
I find it
lovely.
I find it very soothing. Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. I am Karen Acosta, and I teach Spanish in the Department of Modern and Classical Languages. Today, I'm going to talk about diversity and inclusion issues in research. I think my presentation uh, can really connect to Dr. Parra's presentation she just did, hopefully in ways that are complementary to hers and not repetitive. When I was thinking about what I wanted to do for this talk, I couldn't help but think about my own experience as an international student from South America attending universities in the United States. Moments from my own life, first as a student and now as an international faculty member in an American institution, where I wish I had known or gotten guidance or asked to consider certain aspects of research to help me get through that process. So I decided to focus on that. And the first thing I thought about was kind of a conceptual problem. When we talk about diversity, who do we talk about? And who gets to claim that word? Who decides? When I first arrived in the United States, I enrolled in an education program. My background is in curriculum and instruction. And as part of that program, I took classes on multicultural education. I was shocked to find out that in the US, I am considered a person of color. In my country, I am white. I am part of the mainstream culture, of the dominant culture. And so I was very surprised to discover that here I was seen as other, and the decision was not mine. So it's really important to let someone self identify, think, and explain and claim their identity. It is not ideal to label people as diverse based on concepts that we defined that they may not share with us. When we talk about inclusion, we need to consider what we are defining that against. that that itself is a topic that is extremely ripe for research now and always. How do we define inclusion? Who gets to decide? Are we defining inclusion against exclusion? And if so, who is excluded from that definition? Moving on from that conceptual stage, we have some aspects that are important to consider when we work in class or on a research project with someone. First, what is their background? What do I need to know about their academic and cultural background that would help me understand them and their thinking better? Do they have previous experience or previous exposure to research? Do they know what research is? Is their idea of research similar or different from mine? Are we making assumptions about what research is and what a person should know or know how to do entering into this project? What expectations do we have about the research process and the tasks, the communication, what each of us gets to do, how we share and make decisions? Do our expectations match their expectations? Do we share the same idea and goal? Are the expectations clear? I find that having these conversations right at the beginning helps clear so much mental clutter. And no one ever taught me that. It's something that I learned with time and through collaboration with other people. And after having made mistakes, a lot of mistakes. Some of the most anxiety inducing issues are really very practical issues. For example, do we share a language? Is there a barrier? Is our difference an obstacle or an asset? The vocabulary is different, so agreeing on language and how to ask for help is one of the first key conversations we need to have with our research partner. For example, when I started studying in the US, I had already done some research, but in Spanish and in a different area. The vocabulary was different, and I didn't want to seem dumb, so I observed and I tried to copy the behavior I saw in others. I could have saved myself some aggravation if I had asked questions, but I didn't know that that was okay to do. The structure of the research paper was also very different from what I was used to seeing in Paraguay, my home country. The papers were longer and you had to keep reading to find out the results. In the US, it was so strange to me to see that there was an abstract already telling you what the paper you were about to read was going to find. Huge spoiler. Also, the introduction was a huge spoiler. I had to get used to that structure on my own. No one helped me with the transition or even consider that I may come from a different educational system that uses a different format for papers. The next thing to consider is a difference in writing style. In my country, research writing is more circular. You work around a point and you expose, and then you come around to land it. The longer and more verbose a paper is, the better. It is almost an exercise in showing off. Or that is how I see it now. The writing style of research papers in the US was so different to me, much shorter, to the point, concise, and there was no room for silliness. Different cultures, even cultures that share the same native language as yours, may have different writing styles. They may be trying very hard to adapt to yours. So help them and have that conversation with them before you see them struggle. Guide them through so that they can learn and you can learn from a different perspective too. Even after we've negotiated all of these landmines, we still come across writing conventions. What format is the paper supposed to follow? My first ever professor in the US wanted our papers written in Chicago style. Most of my other professors in the School of Education wanted papers written in APA format. When I took classes for my minor in Spanish, the papers were to follow MLA format. This is a lot for the person who is learning how to do research, how to write in their second language, how to adapt to a different paper format and writing style. And on top of that, you're telling me that we have to follow all these rules, and we have different sets of very detailed rules. And Chicago style, I have not forgotten you. I had a very recent crisis. I'm talking last month with Chicago style reference and citation rules. A huge help and amazing guidance would be to do a boot camp with your peers or students who need to learn how to do this and practice before they get to the critical point. Catherine Bowers from the library has done sessions for my Spanish classes in the past where we do a 2-day boot camp on MLA style because that is what we use for modern language research. I would say that the part of the process that I got the least information about as a student and the least help with was publication. Guidance on how to prepare a manuscript is so helpful to junior researchers, and what you learn sticks with you forever. So, those lessons are really gold. Being open about the submission process, what it entails, how to follow the journal guidelines, having another set of eyes just looking at your paper before you submit, those are all important and helpful things. Another big mystery is the review process. I remember a professor I had during my PhD program that brought to class her own paper and her own feedback that she had gotten from reviewers. She shared with us in class a really bad, terrible review, an average one, and a really good one. She talked to us about learning to read, to accept, not take the terrible, mean comments personally. Maybe your paper is not right for this journal. Maybe you need to submit somewhere else. Maybe it does need a bit of work before you try again. Learning all of this at that time helps you kind of brace for impact. I have never forgotten that, and I also never had another professor who shared or talked so openly about the process or the difficult parts of publishing. Finally, the revision process can be really daunting if you don't know what to expect. A friend of mine who studied in the US but does research in Latin America told me that she keeps getting papers from reviewers telling her who to cite. And the citations they request are US academics or US research that doesn't necessarily support or connect with her body of work. But it's what the reviewers are familiar with. So when they see a paper on the topic that doesn't cite those sources, they see it as lacking, perhaps without considering that the researcher is based in doing research in another continent where the scholars in the field are different people. Sometimes you have kind of contradictory comments between reviewers or between the reviewers and the editors. Recently, I had two reviewers say that my paper was acceptable with minor revisions, but the editor herself said the same paper needed substantial revisions. So, who do I listen to? The answer is the editor. You listen to the editor. Having some guidance or examples from someone who can share their previous experience with you really helps you ground yourself and make better decisions during the revision process. Finally, after jumping through the hoops and having these conversations, how can we support each other? Students, peers, classmates, research partners in doing good research. It helps to share personal experience, awesome and awful, to demystify the process. It helps to see this person I like and admire and who I consider to be smart also have a rejected paper and a reader who hated it. And yet they're still here, standing and trying again. Mentors are also wonderful. Just having someone to talk through a research idea or narrow down a topic or help land a topic to reality helps so much. This can be a friend, a peer, someone who does research in your area or the area that you're interested in. Recently, I have been writing in Spanish, which, believe it or not, will be my first time publishing research in Spanish. And a colleague in my department, Dr. Walchak, has been so extremely generous with her time and willingness to talk through ideas and topics with me. It is the nerdiest kind of hanging out. Having and sharing examples of what you want to do, of what other people have done that you can have as guidance, just lots and lots and lots of different examples of the same thing or different examples of how this thing can be approached in different ways, helps junior researchers make good decisions about what approach to take, how to go about the process, and it reduces anxiety about what something is supposed to look like at the other end. Finally, and I cannot stress this enough, open and honest about the research process in general, from expectations and biases to challenges and failures, is really crucial in making sure that we are being open and inclusive and that we are not making assumptions that might unintentionally hurt the research process. If you would like to keep chatting about this, please email me. Gracias.
Well, I want to thank you both for your presentations. They were wonderful, very informative. And they went together very well, so I appreciate the order that you went in. We're going to
That was not.
we're going to open it up for questions. So I'm going to switch over to the chat box to see if anybody has questions there. If you are watching this online, you can raise your hand or ask a question. We'll start with Sarah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I have two questions. One is directly for Dr. Acosta, and one is for both. So,
Oh, you're fading in and out.
there's someone else was speaking. Sorry. So I'm here first for Dr. Acosta to see if there is any resources that she might have that would talk about the differences in writing structure, because you were talking about the circular aspect. Is there somewhere I could go to read more or learn more about that?
Not off the top of my head, but I have some stuff in my office that might be helpful. So I will look through my shelves, definitely.
Perfect.
For
Thank you.
titles or authors, yes.
Thank you. And then my second question is, so I work with an organization here. I live in Lexington, Kentucky, and it has, oh, please do not hate me for my language, but in their mission, they talk about approaching minorities, immigrants, refugees. And so how would you all react to that, I guess, and how do you have suggestions on better language? And this, I guess, is relative to, me working with undergraduate students in the future as well, just in terms of learning what is appropriate or what would be better.
Hi. Basically, I think the word minorities, this is what I've learned doing research. Some grants invite participants, and in order to give money, we have to go along with their own language. So we have to call ourselves minorities, or our research has to have the word minority. But you can also embed a new word, right? Like minorities for global citizenship or whatever is your call. So in my experience, yes, I've been angry about this word, and I have argued with the people who is inviting me for research. And yes, they always say, yes, but what is your proposal? You need to start talking about new words. So I think if you have a new word, like I like diversity, I like inclusion. So maybe, little by little, using the same approach the institution is asking, the same word the institution is asking for, and add the new concept or a new meaning, right? Minorities could mean something else, not just the poor, the underdeveloped, the undeveloped, so on. So thank you for your question.
I have just one more thought, and that is that it depends so much on the context. And so it depends on how your organization defines their mission. And if that mission matches that word in the work that they're doing, I would say that that's legit. But if it is just a term that they use to get funding or because it's trendy or well seen and it doesn't really match their actions, then it's not legit. So I would say, kind of echoing Dr. Parra's, kind of working towards something that is real is a good step. Of course, that may not depend on you, but it just depends on context so much. A minority here just switch the location and you are minority elsewhere. So it just depends so much on who's defining and who is being defined.
Thank you both. Next question, or do you have a response?
I was just gonna say thank you.
All right. All right, do we have another question? We have one here in the audience here.
Yes, so thank you so much for your presentation, both Erika and Karen. I came late. I'm sorry I came in a bit late, so I missed what Erika talked about. But yeah, something that Erika mentioned kind of made me wonder a lot about my own, like a label someone would put on me or a label I would put on myself because of the place I'm in right now. So were you saying that you would be considered to be a person, was it a person of color because of your origins?
Yes, because here I am part of the group defined as Hispanic, which in my
Yes,
country is
okay.
just everyone, so it's not a group.
So yeah, I am from Colombia, actually. I was born and raised in Colombia. I was there until I was 21 years old. So I've filled a number of forms and things that have asked me about my ethnicity. Some of those forms say that it's optional for me to answer to some of the questions. And even during the hiring process to come here to Valdosta and to apply to multiple places, I used to fill forms about like what if I wanted to define myself as a minority, a person of color or not. And now I'm wondering like what exactly the answers to those questions should be, because yeah, then I didn't know that I was considered to be a person of color.
It was really a kind of an eye-opening discussion because even my classmates that were American, English speaking, when they were asked to think about their identity and their culture, some of them would say like, no, I don't have a culture. Like my culture is just the culture, it's like the dominant one. And so it was very, very interesting to see. We got as an exercise one of those forms that you're describing to fill out and kind of think through how we would define ourselves. And it was really an interesting exercise. But
So
I
does
think it's just,
BSU,
yeah.
yeah. No, so I'm just wondering if BSU has like exact guidelines on what exactly we are supposed to answer if we are to answer something about our race, ethnicity, and gender and such.
I think that usually you find in the forms that they let you, especially like census forms and things like that, that they let you self-label, and so that you can check off what you consider yourself to be. And if it's more than one, then you have options. Sometimes you have ethnicity separately, and then another little row saying Hispanic, not Hispanic. So you can kind of mix and match. I usually check white, which is what I consider myself to be in my country. And then I also check Hispanic, which is what they consider me to be here. So I do both, but it's up to you.
You do that? Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. It's one of the things that we talk about in class is the fact that for some people from Central and South America, it becomes in the United States that they have ethnicity but no real race. And that's kind of an odd concept in itself, to think that you have no race at all, but you do have an ethnicity.
Exactly.
And so for indigenous people, it becomes very difficult. Yeah.
But the language is also always evolving. So, things are changing, and then you might find that form will include different things 10 years from now.
Yeah, we used to have, when I was much younger, because I'm much older than all of you, there were many, many different ethnicities, and now we're down to one. So it does change. Other questions?
I guess I'm wondering a little bit about something, if that's okay. Oh, maybe they can go in.
Well, go ahead and finish.
Yeah, oh, okay, all right. So, I've been thinking about, ways to talk a little bit about diversity and inclusion, in the classroom setting. And I find myself facing some barriers because I am a mathematician. I teach math courses and sometimes computer science courses, sometimes statistics, more on that side, STEM fields, and introducing conversations about diversity and equity and inclusion can be very challenging. Do you happen to have any tips on, creating an atmosphere or creating some conversations about inclusion, diversity, equity in a STEM field setting, in particular in the classroom setting?
Hi, Lorena. Thank you for your question. Can I?
Please.
Okay, basically, I think we have more advantage because I teach literature and culture, so we have topics in our courses that are related, so we feel more open to prepare and activities and situations to talk about these topics. But the only tip I have is like you can join the SAFE workshop for faculty, and they give you some tips. And I think little by little we can include that. And for example, now I'm learning that I should include in my little name, under my name, like the pronouns she or her or hers. So little by little, we are learning, and by modeling, I think is a good strategy. So thank you.
So the name is Safe Workshop?
Safe space.
Safe space.
Oh, safe space. Is it like
It's like this.
safe space? And is it on
I can send you the link.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Thank you
has
so
the
much.
periods between each.
My idea, as you were talking, was, since this is a difficult topic to approach from your field, I would say turn it into research. So you can do a study with your students that are incoming into your classes at the beginning of the semester. You give them a survey, you kind of identify kind of what you want to work on, and then kind of see how their attitudes or reactions or opinions evolves through the semester until the end, and you can even give them the same survey. So I think that would be a very kind of sneaky way of making them think about these issues, especially if this is part of an assignment for the class that you're presenting like a natural part of the course, or maybe extra credit, or maybe instead of a test, which it sounds appealing to them to do. So in a way, you're kind of tricking them into thinking about these issues. They will not complain. I think that would be a good approach.
I see. Yeah, something I've been doing is that I really like the educational component of my job. So I am a mathematician and I love a lot of math and my math and stuff like that. But I also like the educational component of the job. And something I've been doing is that sometimes I will share classroom norms with people in classrooms so that they know more or less what to expect or what exactly is expected from them. So I would say things like, you're welcome to, I hope you engage in the classroom in whatever way you can, hopefully actively. and also tell them things like, you can raise your hand at any point if you have questions. And then I would throw a line saying something like, please, we want to create a safe environment. We want to communicate with one another non-violently. And I would say things like, it doesn't matter, color of your skin and such, we don't care. We all try to be people here, and we're doing what we're doing, and that's it. So I do pretty much like 1 minute of talking about, let's try to be, fair and non-violent, and that's it, and quickly switch the page because they get dizzy when I mention the word non-violent or inclusion and such. So that's been pretty much the only way I've found. But thank you so much for your suggestions. I'll definitely explore the safe space workshop, and then think about ways I could potentially introduce some research here and there, either my end or their end. Thank you.
Yeah, you could also, if I can jump in a lot of my courses, because I teach global indigenous courses. And so one of the things, in fact, what I'm doing at 2:00 today is we're talking about things that would be interesting in STEM. So different mathematical systems throughout natural geometry as opposed to Euclidean geometry. We get into space and time when we look at sort of long history, deep time that comes out of Australia.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of work out there that talks about different STEM sort of ways of handling, but they're entirely different systems than the Western system.
Yes.
And so many of my students enjoy doing those. I've published on a couple of them because they're just fun. Finding out how the Inca actually did their counting system is unique and different.
Yes, yes.
And so, yeah, you can do that. We did it with, I think some of you were here when we did it on the Mayan calendar, when everybody thought the world was going to end. And so,
happened various times.
yeah, we had to go through and talk about what the Mayan calendar actually was, and the different calendars, because they were looking at the wrong calendar. So I think there's some ways in STEM that we can do that.
Definitely. Yes, and it doesn't have to be researched yet. It can be, saying something through slightly different lenses from somewhere else. Oh, that's a great idea. Thank you so much for sharing.
Let me know if you need anything.
For sure. I think I will contact you about this.
I love teaching
my
that
first
stuff.
ideas would be coming from there, probably.
I like that. There's some African notions on fractals.
Yes.
That go.
We have a lot of things in Asia of people approaching problems in math differently. Like there was a student who was showing me how to multiply numbers.
Yes.
In a way that was way faster than what we usually do here in the West. And I was like, wow, I have to learn more from you. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's great fun. Other questions? We still have a little bit of time. Yes, please.
Hey guys.
Hi.
Hi. Let me show my face. For some reason, it's my camera is not working, or is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's working now. Hey,
There you are.
I just wanted to thank both Karen and Erica for their presentations. They were absolutely fantastic, and I enjoyed them very much. And just to say a few words about what a diverse department we are, I was counting on my fingers, and I think that more than half of us in the department were not born in the US. And we come from all over the place, Latin America, Eastern Europe, you name it, we have it. So I think that it shows also in the way that we cooperate and collaborate with each other, and we learn from one another. And also learning from the students, learning with the students. The collaborative approaches are very much appreciated in the department. So I thank both Erica and Karen for their presentations talking about these collaborative approaches. And I think that it's a good example, I believe, for others on campus. I don't know to what extent other departments work in collaboration. I know sciences do, because they work in big labs and usually have a lot of people involved in doing research. But our research normally is a lonely research. People work alone. And I'm just pleased as punch to see our faculty collaborating with one another and publishing together. And that's it.
I have to agree.
Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you. I think that's, in the 40 years I've been teaching, some of the most fun I've ever had in publishing has been in collaborations. It's also been the most testing and trying, but it's been a lot of fun. So I hope we get to do more of that as we go on. Any other questions? Well, I think we've got out of time. And I want to thank Dr. Parra and Dr. Acosta for being here today, and for everybody for participating. We really appreciate what you have to say, because again, modern and classical languages often isn't discussed or isn't brought into the conversations. But as Ophelia was saying, there's a lot of diversity in that program alone. So I appreciate you all being here. I hope everybody will have a wonderful day.
I appreciate Dr. Parra doing this during her class.
Yes.
That is
that is wonderful. Yeah. So thank you for her students for being here. I'll wave at everybody.
Oh my God, I didn't realize the students were there. Hey guys.
Hola.
Hola, ¿cómo están?
Well, I will look forward to seeing everybody in April at our next brown bag, and thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you very much for hosting the
you.
event.
Bye-bye.
Bye, thanks.
Thank you, Karen.